Hello everyone and welcome to the next tutorial on my channel, The Power of Excel. Moving forward, we'll start the demonstration of different kinds of Excel functions which has been provided to us in different versions of Microsoft Excel. And for today's demonstration, we have taken up three functions here: SUM, SUMIF, and SUMIFS. SUM, as most of you might already be knowing, is one of the most commonly used functions which can be used to add numerical values in a row, a column, or a tabular format. Then we also have the SUMIF and the SUMIFS function, which can be used to add numerical data satisfying one or more than one conditions. Let's get started. Moving to the demonstration tab, this is the data which we have in front of us, which is basically sales data. And you have order date, region, city, category, product, then quantity in thousands, then you have the unit price, and finally the revenue. So based on this, we have to compute certain parameters which are highlighted on the right hand side. So for this demonstration, we're going to take up 5 different scenarios: total revenue, quantity sold for category cookies, then revenue generated from product carrot, revenue generated from region 1, that is East, and that is a city, that is Boston. And finally, the total revenue generated in the month January, that is how many transactions have occurred in the month of January, or the total revenue which has been generated in the month of January. That is what we're going to find out. Let's get started. Coming to the total revenue scenario, since we are doing it for the first time, and there can be quite a few of you who might be who might not be knowing how to work or insert a function in Microsoft Excel. I'm going to demonstrate a very fundamental or very basic way of inserting a function in a given cell. So that is by clicking on this FX button on the formula bar. This is the formula bar. And if you click on FX, you can actually go to this insert function menu, where you can actually search for a given function. So in this case, since we're looking at calculating the total revenue, so we're looking for the SUM function. So I'll enter the SUM function here and click on go. Once I do that, I get a list of functions, and at the top, I have the SUM function, which I want to use. Let me click on this. Once I click on this, I'll need to enter the numbers which need to be added. In this case, I'm looking at adding the revenues, which is there in column H. So I'm going to select the first cell in the revenue column, and I'm going to press Control Shift and down. This is one of the methods by which we can actually select the entire revenue column, that is Control Shift and down. So that is a shortcut key. And we'll be demonstrating that in one of our upcoming sessions as well, different types of shortcuts. Then once you click OK, you get this total revenue as rupees 3731.45 over a period of 3 months. So we have this data for 3 months from January 2020 till the end, approximately the end of March 2020. So this is the total revenue here. Moving forward to the next demonstration, quantity sold for category. So since we have a condition here, condition that is cookies, looking for the category cookies, and we want to find out the total quantity sold, we'll use the SUMIFs function here. The SUMIF function is a function which can be used in case we're looking at finding the sum of certain numerical values based on one single condition. That is SUMIF. In case you're looking at finding the sum of values for some data based on multiple conditions, then we have a function called as SUMIFs, and we're going to demonstrate that in the next few minutes. So since I already know the function name, I can simply type the function name also, although I could have gone to the FX on the formula bar and clicked on that. So this is something I usually prefer, since I already know the function name. So the function name is SUMIF. And now I can click on FX to get to the SUMIF menu. So this is the menu for the SUMIF function, which has three different parameters: range, criteria, and sum range. So for the range, since this is something I'm looking to add a criteria here, which is groups in this case, or the category in this case. So I'm going to select the category values in this case. I'll click on the first cell in the category column and press Control Shift and down to select the entire column. This way I'm able to select the entire column in one go. Then I'll enter or select the criteria value. Ideally, and it is recommended as well, whenever you work on Excel and use some kind of Excel functions, ideally we should try and pick a value from a given cell in an Excel sheet. The reason behind that is that in case we enter it manually and later on that value changes somehow, then in that particular case, you'll have to go and update that value wherever you have used it one by one, which is a very tedious exercise in case our Excel sheet has many functions and formulas. So ideally, we should pick it up from a given cell, which I'm going to do right over here. So for criteria, I'm going to click on this upward arrow key and click on the cookies cell, which has the value of cookies. And then I'm going to select the sum range, which is my third parameter. So since I'm looking at summing up the quantity sold, I'm going to the quantity sold column, which is given here. I'm going to click on the first cell and select all the values by clicking on Control Shift and down. Once I've done that, I can simply click on OK to get the total quantity sold for the category cookies, that is 684. That is SUMIF function. Now moving on to the next scenario, that is revenue generated from product carrot. So here I'll demonstrate another way of entering a function. So the function that I'll be using again here is SUMIF. And instead of actually going to the menu, I can simply enter it manually as well in case I know how to do it. So you simply start the bracket, and the very first parameter that it is highlighting is the range. This is the criteria range. So the criteria in this particular case is going to be the product. So I'm going to select the first cell in the product column and click on Control Shift and down to select the entire range. Then I'll click on, once I have selected this, I'll click on comma or click on the comma button, and then I'll enter the next parameter, that is the criteria. In this case, the criteria is carrot, so I select it from here, and then again I'll put a comma, and then I'll enter the third parameter, that is the sum range, which has got highlighted here. Sum range in this particular case is the revenue. So I'm going to select the first cell and I'm going to press Control Shift and down to select the entire column. Once I'm done with this, I'll need to close the bracket and then click or press Enter. So once I do that, I'm able to get the revenue for the product, that is carrot. That is the SUMIF function. Now, the next scenario, if you see, has two conditions, that is the region and the city. That is, we want to have the revenue generated from region 1, that is, this is 1, that is East, and this is 2, that is city is Boston. I'm looking to generate revenue based on two conditions. So for two or more conditions, in case I want to sum up the values, the function name is SUMIFS. I'm simply going to go to SUMIFS function and start the bracket, click on FX. I'll start entering the values now, selecting the values now. Sum range in this case, since I'm looking for revenues, I'll select the first cell in the revenue column, 58.41, Control Shift and down. So that is done for the first one, that is sum range. Now the criteria range one, the first criteria that I have is the region. So I'll go to the first cell in the region column and select select Control Shift and down. I've entered or selected the region column now. Now the criteria. So the criteria value for the region column is East. So I select East here. that is the cell K6. And then I'm going to enter the criteria too, because I have two criteria in this case, two criterions in this case. So I'll select the second one, the criteria range 2. So since this is for the city, so I'm going to go to the city column, the first cell, press Control Shift and down to select the entire range. And then I'll enter or select the criteria value, that is Boston. So I'm done with this. So I've entered the sum range as revenue. The criteria range 1 is region. Criteria is K6, that is East. Criteria range 2 is table 1, that is city. And then criteria 2 is L6, that is Boston. Once I click OK, I get total revenue generated for the region East and city Boston, that is 2177.88. And finally, if I want to calculate the total revenue generated for the month of January, so what I need to do is I need to select, or I need to find out the total revenue which have the date posted as less than 31st of January 2000. I repeat, I'll need to find sum of all the revenue values for the transaction which have occurred on or before 31st of January 2020. So for doing that, have entered the condition here, that is 31st of January 2020, and I'll go to this cell. I'll use a SUMIF function since we only have one single condition. I select the range. The range in this case is the date range or the order date. So I'll select the range here. And for the criteria, what I'll need to do is, since I want it to be less than or equal to 31st of January 2020, so I'll have to put this in double quotes, less than and equal to, and then I'll close the double quotes. And since I want to concatenate is one of the functions by which you can actually join different text values. So there's a function also, but we can do it in other ways also. So I'm going to use this ampersand symbol, and then I'm going to select the date here, that is 31st of January 2020. And then for the sum range, I'm going to select the revenue. So I'm going to the first cell in the revenue column, and I'm going to click on Control Shift and Enter as an downward arrow. And once I click OK, I get this value as 1705.82, which is the total revenue generated for the month of January. You can check this value as well, because as you can see, this data is already sorted in as per the date. It could have been in any order. So then in that particular case, this function which we have used right now would have been much more useful. So in case you want to cross check, what you can do is you can actually go to the revenue column and select the cells which have dates till 31st of January 2020. And if you see at the bottom of your Excel workbook, you have the sum coming up as 1705.82. So this is an auto sum function, and this is something which gets displayed automatically in an Excel sheet, and we can set it up also, and we will do that exercise somewhere in the next coming few tutorials. So this value is correct here. Now coming to the applications of these functions. So these functions have numerous functionalities and applications in different areas. When figures such as total revenue or total profit or total sales or total marks, etc., are to be added and to be reported somewhere in a typical organization environment or in an academic environment, then we can make use of the sum function. When these above figures have to be reported based on factors such as, let's say, store, region, city, country, month, year. In case it is academic data, then might be section, subsection, or there can be some other specific categories also. then we can make use of the sum function in case we are taking one factor at a time. But in case we're looking at reporting this data based on combination of factors, two or more factors, then in that particular case, the function to be used is SUMIF. So it's these three functions are beautiful functions, and some, as you can already have already seen previously, also is one of the most commonly used functions. And SUMIF and SUMIF functions are also very much useful in different areas. Um, Going forward, we'll also be telling you from time to time the alternative tools or alternative functionalities in Excel which can be used for whatever we are demonstrating in that particular video. So for the alternative to SUMIF and SUMIFS function is the pivot table, which is a beautiful tool as provided by Microsoft Excel, and we'll be taking it up in one of our upcoming demonstrations. That is as far as these demonstrations are concerned. Now coming to the question of the day, which I had asked in the last tutorial a few days back. Unfortunately, nobody could answer the question correctly. The question was, which tools or applications in Microsoft Excel can be used to avoid mixed referencing style? I repeat, the question was, which two applications or tools in Microsoft Excel can be used to avoid the mixed referencing style in Microsoft Excel? And most of the people who responded to this question got one of it correct, but they could not get the other one correct as far as this question is concerned. So I'm dropping a hint here, and I'm going to continue with this contest for the next few days as well. So the second answer to the question you can find in this particular video. I repeat, the answer to the question I'm looking for, the first answer is correct, which you have reported, but the second answer you can find in this particular video if you carefully go through it. Right, so that is it for this video. Thank you so much, and if you have enjoyed watching this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you and have a great day.